All right, we're on air. It is Thursday, April 23rd, which is nearing our release date, which is kind of exciting and kind of terrifying. We're going to just do a quick check-in on stuff we're working on in Backdrop. I've got a couple new updates from the PMC. As usual, we still have PHP Storm licenses, so anyone who is watching this now or watching this video later, if you are a Backdrop contrib author and want to give PHP Storm a shot, or if you have it and want a license for another year, we have a handful of them and we're willing to give them out. If you just send an email to info@backdropcms.org, we'll see your request and be able to respond to it. If you're not a Backdrop contrib developer and are working on something that will be out soon, let us know. We can probably find a way to help get you through that process to get your license as well. New things on our philosophy page. This is backdropcms.org/philosophy. We have had some language around our our principles that had been confusing to people, and so Nate and I talked about it, and we're trying to figure out how to make things clearer. So the top 3 items in that list have been reworded. They mean exactly the same things as they did before, but we just changed the terminology. So originally we'd said there's a cost that comes with change, and then we changed that to say something like minimize change whenever possible. People are kind of getting the wrong impression about us staying in the dark ages or something, so we changed the language there to just say backwards compatibility is important, and reworded things to say that it should be easy and affordable and we need layers and stuff, which I think makes sense. The second one used to be called architect for the majority, and the third one design for the majority, and people got those really confused as to what was architecting and what was designing and why we needed 2 items there. So we changed the language on that too to say write code for the majority and include features for the majority, which I think makes a little bit more sense. But I wanted to bring it up in this meeting because I want feedback on that. Like if you think these things are still confusing, if you think we need to change things again, definitely let us know. We're just trying to make sure that, if we have this big moment coming up with our 1.1 release, we're probably going to get a huge influx of people to the website, and hopefully we can convey our message clearly enough to them if they try and read this page. So definitely if you have any feedback on that, let us know, and we'll try and iterate until we get that just right. All the rest of that should be the same, and all of the explanations should mostly be the same too. It's just like if you only read the headers, we want you to walk away with the right feeling. And then also, we have started ordering a bunch of Backdrop swag. We made a bunch of t-shirts for South by Southwest and Mid-Camp in Chicago that were a huge success, and we ran out of all of them except for we have like 2 women's mediums left. And so we figured we'd order a bunch more for DrupalCon, and anyone who's planning on being at DrupalCon and is interested in a Backdrop t-shirt, you should come and find Nate or I. We don't have a booth or anything, but we are going to be doing a meet and greet on the day's stage as in conjunction with our Drupal Watchdog article, where we're just going to be standing around and handing out stuff. So if you want a t-shirt, you can come meet us on Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday morning on the day stage and grab stuff there. We're also ordering new stickers. Everybody wanted more dragon swag. We have a lot of Backdrop logo swag, but nothing with our drop dragon. So we're getting stickers with the dragon, and we might also be getting pins with the dragon if we can organize that in enough time. So Backdrop stuff coming soon. At DrupalCon LA, if you don't get it at DrupalCon LA, we can try and figure out some other way to get stuff distributed at other locations this year. But swag, yay. In community growth, we have 1 new contributed project since last week. But more excitingly, we are starting to aggregate our contributed projects on backdropcms.org. And we don't have a design yet, and we don't have a search page. We kind of have half a design. We haven't built the page out yet, so no one can see that that's happening. But what we figured would be really great is if we started at, including all of these projects on backdropcms.org, so that when we did release, there was stuff there for people to see. So that leads nicely into the next item on our list, which is what's going on with update checking for Backdrop CMS. And Nate has done a ton of work on this over the last month. So Nate, do you want to take it from here and let everyone know how that's going?
Sure. So let's see, we have listed here under community growth section that we have our first couple of projects published on backdropcms.org. A couple of those are, let me look at them. Let's see, we have Global Redirect and Forum. The authors are of those modules. Congratulations, you're the first contributed modules on backdropcms.org, which is fantastic. We now have some amazing integration happening between GitHub and backdropcms.org, that whenever you publish a release, it's not enough to just make a project. You actually have to make an official release of that project on GitHub. It will synchronize with cms.org over the README, create a node indicating its release, and create a node for the release version that you've created. And every additional release you create, it will automatically be synchronized with backdropcms.org, which is fantastic because that will enable us to build a better browsing interface to find projects and themes, layouts, those sorts of things on backdropcms.org. And you'll be able to see, like, whether or not your modules are up to date and things like that. We currently are building that list on backdropcms.org, but we're not publishing it yet because there's only 4 projects right now. But on GitHub, you can see that there's over 100. There's 105 contributed projects now. And so we're working on letting people catch up a little bit and make official releases of all of the projects that are in the contrib repository before we start publicly using distributed repository on backdropcms.org. We also want to start collecting official releases of all of these projects so that we can turn on the update status checking, which is currently already working as well. You can actually point your Backdrop CMS site at backdropcms.org, and it will tell you if updates are available, but you have to do it manually right now because we haven't flipped the switch on making the public URL that's already in everybody's installations work yet. So right now, we can deliver update status, but we're just not quite yet. We're waiting until enough contributed modules start populating the repository before we flip the switch on that. But we're pretty well, the update checking goes and building out our contributed repository from an architectural perspective. Now we're waiting on doing some designs for how our module browsing interface should look and how module pages themselves should look. But once that's done, we'll get working on implementing it and then make that public. So lots and lots of progress on project module and backdropcms.org. That's it.
What about project usage?
Oh yeah, and we'll start tracking project usage as well. That's also functioning. I forgot about that. So, but people will need to start using official releases of modules before we actually start tracking like which modules are being used where. So we now have the ability to tell, we actually already have the ability to tell which versions of people are running, so we can actually how many Backdrop CMS websites are out there, at least as long as they've turned on, as well as which version of Backdrop they're running. If people running contributed official release versions, then we'll be able to tell which projects are on which sites as well. Which projects are sites, but not which ones, because we don't track that information. So that's it.
Yay! I'm so excited. So much progress. Okay, so other things that we're working on that we would like to have ready by 1.1, Drush is next on my hit list for things I can't live without. And we have, I haven't actually followed up on this recently, but we have a plan for how to make Drush work with Backdrop. All of this stuff, most of the stuff that we need has been added to Drush already. We just need to write Backdrop's implementation layer and then test it. And as we come up with issues on what we're working on, we can also get more changes into Drush. But right now, we've just got to get it working, and then they'll have something to, you know, have a real use case for building stuff for, where all of the conceptual stuff is in, but we need a little reality to make sure it gets working the way we want it to be. So Drush is high on my priority list. If we have anyone else who wants to play with that, that would be fabulous. But yeah, we want to get that done by 1.1 as well, or shortly thereafter. So other things that we're working on our primary website on backdropcms.org, obviously getting the modules, themes, and layouts search pages is going to be high on our list, but now that we have the ability to put modules, themes, and layouts on backdropcms.org, that will help move that along a lot. We have a first round of designs for all of the search pages, and we're working on designs for all of the actual nodes, project nodes as well. So hopefully we'll get that pretty soon. After we get that done, we would also like to build a showcase for all the people that are working on Backdrop sites and want to show them off. We're going to get that up, start working on that after we get modules and themes and layouts done. All right, so Backdrop itself. We have a patch release 1.06 that we're working on, and that includes a handful of little tiny bug fixes as well as all of the commits that went into Drupal 7.36, which I think we should probably schedule that pretty soon. Looks like Nate just walked away, so I can't ask him when. Just because we have a ton of stuff that had been queued up in the as pull requests that needed to be reviewed, and I think they all got merged last week. So maybe there's enough there to do a release for 106, even though it's not urgent. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, we don't have any critical outstanding right now, but we do have a number of fixes. I know Jeff and Graham and actually a couple others have been working through the cross-port list from the last stable release of Drupal 7, and so it'd be great to make more progress on those cross-ports.
Okay.
Kind of, I guess we don't need to finish them all, but it'd be nice just to reach parity with the bug fixes that have gone into Drupal 7. So I was hoping that we would be able to finish those up before we made the next. We really can make it at any time.
Okay, I think that's a good milestone for us. Is as soon as we get the cross ports in, we can release. We don't have anything urgent that we would need to do it before then, and I think having them all in one release makes sense because it's like this is the catch up to Drupal 7 release, and then it's not split across two. So. Okay, that sounds like a good plan for that. And then our next minor release, 1.1, is getting closer and closer. It's currently scheduled for May 15th. We have no plans to change that deadline. If we don't get things done by May 15th, then they just won't go into that release. We've got a lot of stuff that is nearing done already, so I think that we're on good track to get what we need done by then. We have the three major things that we're working on are the administration theme changes, and there's been a flurry of work on that lately, so I know last week I was complaining about not enough getting done, and this week I now get to thank everybody who's been working so hard on that for the last week to get all of that done, so that's been amazing. We had a couple of design issues that were blocked on design, and so we had a good call yesterday with Darius to help get those unstuck and moving forward again, and I think that we're looking on track to have all of that in. I think it was like we have 8 days to get all of the design changes that we want finished so that we can do a really thorough review of how that entire design looks as a cohesive whole and make sure we fix up anything like padding or spacing that might be out of whack in one place or another. And then we can merge the whole branch that we've been working on there into 1.1 for the release. So I think that'll be great. Other things we're working on are token and path auto in core. I think last week I ended up getting to a point where I got a little fed up with trying to fix all of the tests in token, but Nate got fed up with me not working on it and took it over, and he got all of my tests passing, which was amazing. And so I think, Nate, you said you just added an update to the token module today. There are a couple of things that were missing, like an upgrade path that turned off the token contrib module in order to get token and core working, and a couple of other things, but I think we're super close on that.
Yeah, I posted a comment. There's an issue 480 is the issue for token and core, and the port was fantastic. There was, no problems whatsoever. Everything great of token into core. The only thing that was missing, was an upgrade path and something to prevent the contributed token module from being turned on the same time as Backdrop 1.1, which will include it in core. So I made a minor adjustment to make it so that the modules page will prevent you from turning it back on, which works great. And I think that we're looking really, really good there. I think that probably within the next week, we'll probably see that merged. And then that will really help unblock Path Auto, which is, again, a porting job, but requires a little bit of thought about how our hooks should be renamed and how compatibility should be handled and so forth.
That is fabulous. So Path Auto also depends on all the work we have been doing on Token, and it looks like that's coming along really well as also. So Jeff, I know you've done a ton of work on that. Do you want to give us an update as to where that is and what you might need help with?
The vertical tabs are showing up, and so the hooks are firing, and the admin form is responding and saving for users, taxonomies, and nodes. But the actual form on the nodes, on the vertical tabs, when you have a path set on the admin form with tokens, is not saving. So that's where that's at.
Okay. Yeah, I think we made some changes to how those forms worked in Backdrop from Drupal that could be causing that. But yeah, okay. That sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty close. Okay, so we can. I don't know if there's a branch you've been working on, or if we should just grab your pull request or something to take a look at that. But I'd like to play with it. I'm not sure I can guarantee I can help, but I'd like to play with it anyway. Okay, and then we've got let's see, so that's everything on our list for 1.1, Token, Path Auto, and admin stuff, which I think looks fabulous. And then, of course, we're going to get all of these bug fixes that we're getting into 1.6. We'll go in, and anything else that comes up between now and then that someone happens to fix that has a pull request ready, we'll also go in. So that's fabulous. We've got... And I officially moved the WYSIWYG editor and core, rich text editor and core issue from the 1.1 milestone to the 1.2 milestone today. I know last week we talked about it and I moved it on our agenda, but now I moved on GitHub as well, so that I think that's probably after 1.1 comes out where I would like to start on things, because since it's been postponed, that's now our highest priority item. Other things for 1.2 just include adding field type modules, and I think we've got a list of 3 of them there. So I don't think that any of adding the field type modules is going to be too terribly complicated, so I think throwing rich text editing in with those is still reasonable for the amount of features that we want to do in 1.2, and depending on how those field module conversions go, we could even do more than 3. I just picked the 3 most important ones because one of them was date, and that looked like it could be really hard. So we'll see how that goes. And yeah, if we end up doing more and not date, or date and nothing else or something, I think we can adjust that as necessary too. So other things we're always working on, either user experience issues. We want to make Backdrop easier to use with every new version. So if you find anything as you're using it that seems a little funny, open an issue or add to an existing issue. If there's one that's already there, let us know. We can fix that, or at least try. Same thing with developer experience. If you're writing code or porting a module and you find something that you think is a little funny, let us know. We can try and fix that. Sometimes changing the way things work in the 1.x cycle is hard because it might require an API change. But if we know about it, we can at least change it in the 2.x version. So definitely let us know when you find weird stuff like that. Both those user experience and developer experience issues are tagged with square brackets in the node or in the issue title on GitHub rather than an actual tag, just because we have so many tags already. So hopefully you can find them that way and create them that way, and that'll work for us. Every Thursday we have a sprint in, usually in IRC. We all get in IRC and hang out and strategize about how to solve problems. Our IRC channel is Pound Backdrop. If IRC is too nerdy for you and you also want to hang out with the Backdrop community, we are also in the Reddit, which is reddit.com/r/backdrop, which is more of a forum where you don't have to log into any silly application and do command line stuff like you do in IRC. And if you have questions in the forum and there aren't people around who can answer it, there usually are people in the forum who can ping the people who have the answers to your questions. And it's been a really good way for people to just kind of have discussions about Backdrop that are, posted somewhere publicly that you can search later and find. So both of those have been super successful for us anyway. If you have time, or you can get time from your bosses on Thursdays to hang out with the Backdrop community and work on the project, that's probably when there's most people doing the same thing. So that's definitely a good time to do it. If you can't do it on Thursdays and can do it any other time, that is also amazing. So don't be sad if you can't do it on Thursdays and decide not to do it at all. Please do it anyway. We've definitely had a whole bunch of great contributors just kind of randomly showing up and working on stuff that have made a huge difference. So every little bit of effort helps for us. We have a couple of iCal feeds if people are interested. One of them is just a list of all of these meetings. So we've got this meeting every Thursday. There's another one every other Thursday, so fortnightly, that is an hour before, which is our design meeting, where we talk about things like what the website should look like, or if we need stickers, or all of that stuff. And that often tends to be a little bit more of a working meeting. Like if we have things we need to review, we'll do it there, which is sometimes kind of fun, even if you're not super interested in design, but you want to see how things work. That's a good place to jump in. Often we don't have a lot of people around for it, though, so it's occasionally been canceled. So keep an eye on the Twitter or the iCal and see if there's a meeting if you want to join that. And then we have another iCal, Backdrop-friendly events, which we imagine for the duration of 2015 will continue to be just Drupal events where people are interested in talking about or hearing about Backdrop. And then hopefully in the near future that will become a calendar of Backdrop events, but we'll see when that actually starts to happen. So far, the only true Backdrop event that I think is on schedule is we're going to have a Backdrop Summit at Bad Camp this fall, which will be on November 5th, which is a weekday. It's going to be in Berkeley, so if you guys are interested in coming to Bad Camp, come a day early, and you can come to a Backdrop Summit. And hopefully we'll get a pretty big turnout and be able to make some progress on maybe Backdrop 1 or Backdrop 2 by then. I don't know what we'll be most focused on. Probably Backdrop 1. We'll see what we can do. There's also a bunch of Drupal events on that calendar that are people who are hosting events that might be either specifically reaching out to people working on Backdrop saying, hey, tell us what's going on, or people who are like, hey, I'm going to this event and I want to hear about Backdrop when I'm there. So if any of you are planning on giving a talk at a Drupal event on Backdrop, let us know and we'll put it on the calendar. I know there's some talk about, was it Drupal Camp Spain? Something like that, where someone's going to be giving a Backdrop talk, so I'd like to add that one to the calendar as well. I don't have the dates for that, but we can look it up and add it after this meeting. And anything else that anyone's going to that you want to talk to other people about Backdrop at, if the organizers are cool with that, let us know and we'll throw it on our calendar and do a little promotion for them as well. So that is our meeting for today. But I did want to open things up to anyone. We've got a lot of people here. If anyone has any questions about anything, like, I don't know, things you ran into in the issue queue, or how do you talk to your mom about Backdrop, or whatever issues it might be. We've got some extra time, so any questions?
I have a point to ponder.
Sure.
Everybody, Doug Van here. I've had a couple people reach out to me and ask me about not coming to DrupalCon, and apparently there was a little bit of suspicion about my love for Backdrop having some impact on that. But I've been very candid and frank with some people, and the reaction I'm getting is that they're keeping their eyes on this, and that we're getting a lot of we're winning hearts and minds on this. So I've been a kind of a boots on the ground evangelizer for all the events I go to and everywhere I go, and I'm just really, really motivated and empowered by the response we're getting from people we know, people we don't know, a lot of grassroots momentum. So just wanted to pass that along.
I've kind of been getting the same feeling too. Like when we first started working on this, everyone thought we were crazy. And then as time has moved forward, I've been getting an overwhelming amount of support, like a lot more than I was expecting we would get. And initially we're like, we think this is what people want, but we don't actually have any people to ask if it's what they want because they don't know yet. And it's been I have the same thing where like I'm hesitant when I talk to people about it because I know it's such a passionate thing for most of the people in the Drupal community where they're like, oh my goodness, how can you work this project? We love this project. And it's like, well, we love this project too. That's, you know, why we're doing this is we love it kind of how it was, and we want to make it, you know, more accessible to people, and we think this is what you want. And it turns out there are a lot of people who, you know, we've never heard of before who are coming and saying, this is definitely what I want. Thank you so much. You know, it's good to have an alternative, even if I'm not in favor of it, whatever it is. And I found that super rewarding as well, to be like, we thought you existed, but we weren't really sure. But
Yeah.
it turns out you do. So yeah,
people
I've been equally thrilled. I mean, it's definitely a hard thing to do, but obviously, you know, preaching to the choir right now. But
Yeah. So people have their go-to arguments when I bring this up, and I'm able to combat them fairly easily. It's not really an argument, but it's just a position that you know, there's a market for this. There simply is. We're not trying to create something that doesn't exist. We are serving a people group who will be disenfranchised. I had the good fortune this year of presenting a Drupal feeds tamper module session at the Philadelphia user group in ZivTech, and then presenting that same session at Fort Kitchen's office in Austin while I was out there, and also passing out Backdrop shirts at Fort Kitchen's office while I was there. That didn't actually go over so well, but the conversation that came out of it was great. But when I explain to people, hey, we're just serving, you know, the market. We're not creating anything. We're simply serving it. They kind of get the clue. They kind of get the idea and have to ultimately somewhat agree.
yeah. So I don't know. I feel good about it. I feel like people are starting to get our message, even if they aren't in support. So it's exciting.
Ooh, go team.
Yeah, forks are good. Good for everyone. Good for competition. Makes both projects better. So, all right. Does anyone else have anything else to ponder, share, or complain about? Okay. Well, thank you all for coming. We'll go ahead and wrap up this meeting, and IRC is what's going to happen next. We're going to be working on everything together, solving problems, all that good stuff. Oh, speaking of IRC, we have a new bot. Did you guys notice Taco Cart is now in there? Taco Cart is Andrea Zendoodle's bot, who used to live in the Drupal Camp channel, and I was playing with the bot when we were at mid-camp. I was telling it stuff and feeding it. You know, I really like robots. And she was like, hey, my bot can hang out in your channel. And I was like, what? So we now have Taco Cart. And if you have any, you know, questions, you can ask Taco Cart questions. If it knows answers, it'll answer it. If you post like a link to something, it will explain like what's actually in that link, so other people in the conversation will know what it is, which is really nice. So yeah, it's handy to have around. I had been intending to port bot module to Backdrop to put it on our website so we would have our own bot. But since I've been a little busy lately, I figured having Taco Cart in there would be super helpful for us until we get bot module in there. So if anyone is super nerdy and you love IRC channels and you love IRC bots even more, you're going to like our new Taco Cart. So that's kind of exciting. And aside, but hey, this is what I look forward to. All right, so thank you all for coming to the meeting today, and we will see you on the internet.
Bye.
Bye, guys.